Nerd Authors, and that is the intro music to the movie that started it all, Conan the Barbarian. All right, tonight we're going to do a YouTube channel video over The Witch.
Great movie. Wonderful movie. I'm Zach, by the way.
And I'm Zenmo.
And we usually do our reviews in one take. We try not to have any spoilers. There might be some, so we apologize in advance if that's the case. So you can watch our review either before or after seeing the film The Witch, and we hope you enjoy our review. Like we said, we're reviewing The Witch today, which is a historical period drama mystery. Came out in 2015, directed by Robert Eggers. It was his directorial and film debut. He also was the screenwriter and production designer. Guy wears many hats. And his most recent thing that you've probably seen a lot of advertisement for on Facebook is The Lighthouse, that we both still want to see.
All right, so I don't usually do scary movies, but my brother said, hey, I think you ought to watch this movie. I think we ought to review it. It's a good idea. You know, it's a good new film. It scared me. It really did. That's not a disclaimer at all. If you do not like scary movies, this movie will scare you.
Yeah.
As it did me. So I was really impressed with it, especially it being somebody's first big go at it, and it was remarkable. So that's why we're doing the review. So.
And to bring you up to speed on why we thought it was such a good film, one of the reasons for that was not only Mr. Robert Eggers, but also his DP, which is Director of Photography, Jaron Blaschke. And one of the reasons that the film looked the way it looked was because he wanted to use natural lighting, wanted everything to be as gritty and real as possible, and that really added, I think, that extra tense and fright factor to the film because it looked and felt so real.
Yeah.
And some of the cast members, as you guys might know, I think the main, if I'm pronouncing it right here, is Anya Taylor-Joy. She played Thomason. It also looks like she's half Argentinian. And Argentine, yeah. And she, of course, played Thomason in The Witch, and she's also been in Split and Glass, which were pretty big M. Night Shyamalan films. She played Lily in that.
She did a great job. It kind of revolves around her and her little family that lives out in 17th century North America, and nothing got by her, man. She was a capital actress.
Oh yeah, great young talent. Also a couple of other notable people in the film. Ralph Ineson, if I'm saying that correctly, as William, the father from some Game of Thrones fame.
He has a beautiful baritone voice.
Oh yeah, thick and low, like you almost couldn't understand him in certain spots. Kate Dickie as Catherine, the mother, also from Game of Thrones. Some other things I think you've seen them in. Ralph Ineson was also one of the henchmen in From Hell, that the Albert Hughes film Alpha that we did our first review on. He was in one of his earlier films with Johnny Depp, From Hell.
Great. And
Kate Dickie is also seen in Prometheus as one of the doctors that helped out in that.
Interesting. Good. So a good cast, a well-rounded cast. We're trying to stick in our sci-fi. Our first one was Alpha. This one's The Witch. We're doing some people. My favorite actor was Harvey Scrimshaw, the little boy, as Caleb. He did a spectacular job.
Especially for being so young.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it later on in the review. But where was it done at?
Northern Ontario and Canada. They're super nice up there, eh?
Hey, they are.
They are. Eh?
So Studio A24 picked it up. They've done things like Ex Machina, Lady Bird, The Lobster, and they usually, independent films. They have a new one, The Farewell. They bought it from Sundance Film Festival and distribute it worldwide. So, any you indie guys out there, A24 Studios is a really, really upcoming place. They're a little. The New York Times hailed them as the little studio that could.
Yeah, really pushing the envelope as far as independent filmmaking goes. This studio A24 puts out a lot of great content, man. I mean, even if you're not into film like we are, if you just want to get your eye on some good movies, just go look up what A24's put out. They're all fantastic.
I think we ought to review Lady Bird. It got really good acclaim and really good reviews. So maybe we'll do that in the. Let us know in the comments if that's what you, and any time if there's any movie you want us to do, we'll do it. The locations are in Northern Ontario, and you couldn't really tell the difference between New England and Northern Ontario. It's very similar. It looked like Maine to me, and that's where they would be. Massachusetts, Hampshire, up that way, and Maine is. So Canada's right there. It's not a far cry.
The latitude. So yeah, you got the big pines and deciduous trees with the like the ferns and the undergrowth.
Yeah.
So it looks
swampy,
similar.
It looked cold.
And to prove the point on how well this film did, it only had a budget of $4 million and then grossed 40.
Now that's a return on your investment, boys and girls.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can make a $4 million movie, a horror movie, they only had like one set. There was a couple of different scene changes. There's a bunch of stuff in the woods. You don't really build woods. You just kind of go out into woods. And so the cost was low, and for $4 million they made 40. Now that's why people invest in film. That's why people make films, because hey, it's all about money.
Yeah, it's also a good reason why people make films in this genre too, is because your overhead's relatively low, and a lot of people will go see this genre.
Yeah, horror. Yeah, unless you're chicken like me, it scared me to death. I'll never forget the movie ever. It was like, the thing that scared me about it was, let's talk about the plot.
Yeah.
It's kind of like camping. I like to do a lot of camping and backpacking and hiking and getting out there in the woods. And so when I watch a movie about getting out there in the woods and something goes terribly awry, it kind of hits close to home for me, and so it scared my mule, so to speak.
Oh yeah, so it's set in 1630s New England. Obviously English family coming over, wanting to stake a claim in the New World, and then everything goes wrong.
Well, it was Puritans, so they got booted, right? They get booted out, and they try to go at their own. And they get out there, and all of a sudden the baby goes missing, and they don't know why, and stuff starts getting crazy and starts getting weird. And great performances by these actors. One thing that was incredibly notable, straight off the bat, was the music.
Oh, absolutely,
man,
dude! And it was done by a fella named Marc Corbin. And, of course, Mr. Eggers, the director, wanted it to stay tense and dissonant, so he wanted no traditional melody really throughout the thing. He wanted everything to be pretty loose and fluid to go along with the scene and the action that's happening in camera. And he wanted to use, I guess you could say, non-traditional instrumentation, a really cool instrument, the nickel harpa, which is a multi-string instrument, makes a lot of creepy sounds, and especially the water phone. If you're interested in organically made creepy sounds, look up the water phone. We'll see if we can't share a link in the description. This thing is what makes all the horror sounds for a lot of the movies that you see. The creepy shrills and metallic scratching and stuff, that's coming from this thing called the water phone.
Marc Corbin did a really good job of making it dissonant, and in certain parts of the movie, like when they lock the children in
the shed,
in the shed or the corn crib with the goats or whatnot, the music, it got so loud, and I was watching it with the wife, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just like plastered up against the wall. Oh Lord, and the music is getting louder and louder and louder, and I told her, turn it down. And then a shampoo bottle drops somehow out of the shower, and I said, "Pause it!" And I got up and had to walk it off. I had to walk it off. I was so afraid. It had me on the edge of my seat. And I told her, I came back in there and I admit it. I'll admit it to you. I told her, I don't have to watch the rest of this.
People forget that, and music adds so much to a film. It's almost like its own character in a film, especially in this film. It literally
plays a big role.
Without the music in there, it'd be a completely different feel and tone in the movie. So, great job, Mr. Marc Corbin, for that.
Yeah, we'll follow him and see what some other things he's done. We highly recommend him. Anything he's done, we'll look him up and maybe do something else on him.
What were some notable scenes that you liked?
My favorite one. So the little boy, my boy Caleb, what's his name? Harvey Scrimshaw. How am I gonna forget a name like that?
Scrimshaw.
This kid does an amazing job at playing possessed, because he goes out, he's looking for the little bitty baby that's gone. He takes it on himself. He goes out to hunt it. He gets, whatever. He winds up showing back up and has a scene where he is possessed up on the upper floor of their little hut. And that guy does, as far as I could tell, I was scared to death the whole entire movie. And so I was just glued to it. I couldn't tear myself away. The kid did, I believe it was a one shot. And the line was super long where he's calling on God and Jesus Christ to save him, save his soul and whatnot. And the kid did spectacular. I wanted to applaud and run away at the same time.
That's right. It was a one continuous shot. So it seems like, there might have been some editing involved, but it was just cool to see this 12-year-old kid just act the way he did and do all of his lines in one go.
It was spectacular.
And it
was terrifying.
You should watch that guy, man. Hopefully he sticks with it and goes from acting
hopefully we see some more of him
to keep going.
Absolutely.
And just to prove it to you about how well the Witch did, 90% fresh, fan reviewed on Rotten Tomatoes. Everybody loved this film. I don't think there was a bad review about it that I could find. Just universal acclaim from all the critics that wrote for the magazines and blogs and everything. Everybody just loved this movie. Me personally, getting to my personal comments, I watched it once. It was like he said, glued to the edge of my seat. I just couldn't look away. It was terrifying. It was intense, and that's when I hit him up. I was like, okay, you and the wife have got to watch this.
She likes it. So I just recently went backpacking, not 2 days ago, and unfortunately I was there on the top of Tray Mountain in Georgia on the Appalachian Trail by myself. And it was so quiet, it was unearthly. And somehow or another, that this creepy movie creeps up in my head, and I was afraid. I can't tell you how much this movie affected it. It scared my mule. It really did. I don't think I've been that scared since the first Blair Witch came out, and I was 15 years old, and that scared me too. I didn't go camping for months. But this one, it got me good, and it came back a couple nights ago, and so I'll never forget it. I never want to see it again.
That's a good comparison. I didn't think about that. Blair Witch, if you're... Okay, how about that? If you're into a creepy in the woods setting and you like Blair Witch, you will like this movie. It scared the pants off everybody. The ending, not to give anything away, the ending will leave you breathless. Honestly, it did for me. You know what I mean? You're spaced out, everything's starting to come together, and then it kind of goes away again. And the ending scene, it's just jaw dropping. So hopefully you guys check this out, and hope you like this review. We got a couple more personal comments for you, and we'll be leaving you out on this note right here.
All right, so our exit music will be Warbringer, death metal band from LA, like the California guys, with Demonic Ecstasy.
Yes.
And so, if you've seen the whole movie, you'll get this. Remember, kids, don't talk to black billy goats because they may be possessed by Satan.
Exactly. you liked our review, please check out the film The Witch. And please subscribe, comment, and we'll hit you again next time in a couple of weeks with our latest review. Thank you. Have a good night.